scene of this fire. This is a Shell station, hard to see right now, right on Northside Drive. And this video shows the flames. They were trying to get out most of the afternoon. Still a lot of smoke, a lot of water damage there, right by the I-75 ramp near Belmead Avenue.
I did, and firefighters told me that a Harley Davidson caused all this damage you see here behind me. Since we last saw you at 4 o'clock, the road opened up, so we were able to move closer to the scene. Guys, take a look at this. You can actually see what's left of that motorcycle right there is kind of charred and melted into the ground. Then you see that other car right next to it. That car caught on fire, and then the flames from the motorcycle and the car then rose up and set the awning on fire. The motorcycle owner told me next minute he saw flames. Flames broke out at this Shell gas station on Northside Drive just before 1 Friday afternoon. We flew News Drone 2 over the scene. Some drivers pulled over to watch the fire and smoke pour from the gas station.
I mean, come on, it's a freaking sight. And it's like the smoke is coming up so high now.
The gas station owner quickly turned off the gas valve, but the flames continued to rage.
So it was a very aggressive hit. You want to knock it down right away, and that's what they did.
Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the gas station is badly damaged. As for Kenneth's Harley, it's a total loss. Thankful you guys are okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, and welcome to It's Too Late, where I like to say it's never too late to reconsider unnecessary risks. I like to have fun. We all like to have fun. Boating's fun. Motorcycling is fun. Riding around in a Corvette's fun. Okay? Some things, though, we just can't avoid.
I just talked to police a short time ago, and they tell me, based on their preliminary investigation, a Mazda traveling westbound on the loop suddenly changed lanes, which may have forced the semi-truck to swerve and hit the barricade. Officers tell us that caused the bulldozer to fall off the 18-wheeler trailer and go into eastbound traffic. They say the bulldozer unfortunately hit the Mustang you see here, killing that man who was driving that car. A pickup driver was also hit but was not injured.
It's just a reminder that when we're traveling during rush hour traffic, everyone's in a hurry. Not to say that that was the issue here, but to be kind and to make certain that we're changing lanes appropriately.
Brent Norman has spent his whole life near the ocean.
Grown up on beaches all my life, stepped on probably over 10,000 shells.
At the end of April, he walked his usual route on Sullivan's Island in Isle of Palms.
Health-wise, I try to hit 15 to 20,000 steps every day. The way the tides were pretty high, I unfortunately stepped on several seashells.
The next morning, Norman says he woke up in pain.
Fast forward Wednesday, the swelling on my right foot had grown even more, and then at that point I was no longer walking.
After nearly a week of toughing it out,
It was maybe as if someone had driven a nail through my foot.
he went to the emergency room on Thursday.
Everyone behind the check-in counter their eyes were about double the size they normally were. I could tell people were uncomfortable sitting around me, looking at it.
That's when Norman's doctor told him his foot was infected with Vibrio, most likely from stepping on a seashell. The CDC says there are 12 species of Vibrio, and one is known to be a flesh-eating bacteria.
She lanced it, removed the debris from there, and then gave me antibiotic shot, and then also pills that I'm taking for 2 weeks.
According to DHEC, Vibrio are a kind of bacteria that naturally live in warm ocean water. The agency says there are typically higher concentrations of the bacteria in the ocean from May to October.
There could be further complications like sepsis, or you could potentially have to have your foot removed, which sounds terrible.
According to the CDC, 150 to 200 infections like Norman's are reported each year. The CDC says 1 in 5 people with this infection die, sometimes within 1 to 2 days of becoming ill, making Norman a rare case. Norman is on antibiotics and is still recovering and is already itching to get back to the sand.
My reward is living at the beach, and I intend to continue to do that. Go as soon as my foot's healed, I will be back on the beach.
Okay, I get it. Your lifestyle is who you are. And if your lifestyle has risk, then I guess it's risky business every day. But you shouldn't have to risk your life just living on a street next to somebody whose lifestyle is insane.
And I'm Elizabeth Matthews. A 70-year-old facing charges tonight after police say he shot his neighbor. This happening in unincorporated Lockport Township last night. Police say this may be racially motivated. Tonight, the victim, 45 years old, on a ventilator here at Silver Cross Hospital in critical but stable condition.
When an 8-year-old is terrified to play in his backyard, it's pretty bad.
The family of 45-year-old Melissa Robertson tells us they were fearful of their 70-year-old neighbor, John Shadbar.
He's been terrorizing her and the neighborhood for years.
What does that mean?
So,
in what way?
Revving his motorcycle engine at all hours, as loud as it can possibly go, blasting music, yelling, getting drunk and disorderly, shooting his gun into the air.
Tuesday night, someone got hurt around 5:30 near 144th Place and Rickerman Road. Will County Sheriff's deputies say Shadbar was walking around shooting his rifle.
We could hear them progressively getting louder, so he was like giving away his position almost. He probably shot 20, 25 times, I would think.
Then she says Shadbar walked down the victim's sidewalk and found Robertson.
It was leaning over this fence and shooting her. And shot at her and got her there, and she managed to crawl into the house.
I swung the back door open, and she crawled on all fours in front of me.
And then he bashed the window with the butt of the gun and continued pacing, which is why they did the reverse 911 to the neighborhood to shelter in place.
Robertson was rushed to the hospital. Shadbar charged with attempted first-degree murder, but more charges may be coming. Detectives believe the shooting may have been racially motivated against Robertson for raising her two boys.
They are both African American, and they were the target very often of his racial slurs and rants and raves.
Tonight, Shadbar is still locked up, also charged with unlawful use of a weapon by a felon and aggravated battery with a firearm. Reporting from New Lenox tonight, Elizabeth Matthews, Fox 32, Chicago.
It rhymes with Mad Max, but it's madder than Mad Max. It's a bad vax. That's right. AstraZeneca has a problem with its vaccine. So everybody that has taken it is probably just going, okay, all right. So I'm going to leave a link to our It's Too Late episode where the embalmers were finding these blood clots, okay, that weren't made out of blood. But we'll leave that alone. Go watch the video if you will. But for now, this is a really important report from Elizabeth Vargas about maybe the origins and maybe what's going to happen and maybe the cover-up and who knows. And whether or not this video will even be able to come out now that I mentioned any of this.
Dr. Robert Redfield led the CDC when the COVID outbreak began in 2020. He was an early proponent of the lab leak theory. Last March, he testified before Congress that he was sidelined over that belief. Dr. Redfield, thanks so much for joining us. I just want to get your reaction to these State Department documents.
Well, Elizabeth, I think it's really important that the Biden administration follow through. I mean, Congress unanimously voted, and they do very few things unanimous, voted to have all these documents declassified. And I do think once they are declassified, the American public will get a much better understanding of the knowledge base we have. Clearly, the FBI was able to look through this material and come, with modern certainty that this came from a lab, the Energy Department, low certainty. I might argue that the few agencies that say it was natural spillover are all with low certainty.
Yeah.
And a number of agencies, as you know, like the CIA and State Department, have just they've made no opinion. But I think it's really critical. I mean,
why wouldn't they make this public? I don't understand all the secrecy around this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't. I've obviously reviewed the classified information, and I'm anxious to see it all declassified. Some of it has been. I think, obviously, there's geopolitical reasons that they're keeping this classified. I don't think it's warranted. It should be declassified. Weintraub's providing great leadership in this space. I think he's going to get to the truth. I'm disappointed. I saw one of your guest on before me from Johns Hopkins where he said, the bulk of evidence is still spillover. I would, as a reporter, I would ask him, could you list that evidence?
Yeah, no,
because the truth is there's no evidence.
No.
There's no evidence for spillover.
None.
And there's plenty of evidence. There's a lot of opinion for spillover, but there's no evidence for it. And there is a lot of evidence for the laboratory leak hypothesis.
Yeah,
I
we have
always say as
never
a
we have never
virologist-
found an animal from that wet market or in China that was carrying
That's
that
right.
virus. So there is no
Right.
there is no.
Yeah, and it's also important, like when SARS came in 2002, 2003, from a bat to a civet cat, then it went to humans. It never learned how to go human to human. And MERS in 2012, 13, from a bat to a camel to humans, it never learned how to go to human. Normally there's a species barrier that takes a long time for these zoonotic viruses to figure out how to get around. But when COVID started, it was immediately, I say, the second most infectious virus for man that we've ever seen. This virus was obviously educated how to infect man. And we know there's a paper in 2014, 2015, where the scientists actually published that they were able to teach COVID how to bind to the ACE2 receptor in humanized mice and infect human tissue.
Right, they were
so
doing.
It's just very disappointing. There's not honesty.
Yeah, they were doing at this Wuhan lab gain-of-function research, which is when you manipulate these viruses to make them highly transmissible to humans and then try and come up with a vaccine to stop it. And of course, the theory here, and something you have always believed, is that there was a mistake, an accident at the lab, and somehow that virus leaked out. This raises real ethical questions about this gain-of-function research happening in labs, not just in Wuhan, but around the world. You think they should all be stopping this?
Yeah, I wrote an op-ed with Mark Siegel in the Wall Street Journal a little while back, really calling for a moratorium on gain-of-function research. I think it puts our world at great risk. We have the risk of natural spillover, but there is a species barrier. I'm obviously most worried about bird flu. Right now, it takes 5 amino acid change for it to be effectively infecting humans. That's a pretty heavy species barrier, but this virus is already now in 26 mammal species, as you saw most recently, cattle. But in the laboratory, I could make it highly infectious for humans in months, because it's been published, the 5 amino acids that I need to change. And so I don't think that research should be done. That's the real threat. That's the real biosecurity threat, that these university labs are doing these bio experiments that are intentionally modifying viruses. And bird flu, I think, is going to be the cause of the great pandemic, where they are teaching these viruses how to be more infectious for humans.
All right. Yes or no answer. Will we? I know you believe it was a lab leak. Do you think we will ever know for sure?
Absolutely.
I hope so. Boy, do I hope so. Because scientists like you need to better protect all of us. And this is the key to knowing that. We have to know how this started and spread.
Okay, dang, Elizabeth. That was great. Good job. Folks, thanks for watching It's Too Late tonight. There's so much more SHTF to come for tomorrow. I know we just can't wait for all this tragedy and fear, but hey, we're having fun, right? You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. If you're around in the morning, Bad Apple Report, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Otherwise, we'll see you right here tomorrow night for It's Too Late. Have a great night.